And now, your News 13 Skywatch weather.
Good morning to you. We are looking at Silva with our Hunter Subaru Skycam network. First light starting to sneak into the sky there. Silva's temperature in the mid-30s right now. So a lot of that is liquid rain there on the streets and dripping from the light poles. In Brevard, it is a different story. We have freezing rain showing up there, which is starting to ice over the light poles and traffic lights and trees in this shot. Likely that road is pretty slick. Here's what's going on. The temperature's up to 37 now at Silva, 42 in Hayesville. We're going to have warmer air start to fight out this very shallow cold layer. Temperatures 26 at Table Rock, Hendersonville at 23 right now. We have temperatures around 19 at Tryon and Spartanburg. Very cold, shallow layer of air, and that is why we have the precip types that we do. If you have a very thick cold layer, you have snow. We don't have that. We have a thin, shallow, cold layer thanks to this cold air being wedged up against our mountains. And that gives us freezing rain and sleet as the predominant precipitation types. We have started with a lot of sleet in this system, starting to see more of a transition to freezing rain. This is what the pink is showing up here across the Blue Ridge Escarpment back off to the northeast as well. And that freezing rain is what's going to accumulate the ice. And we've got, as Julia said, hours more to go of the freezing rain. Out here, where we just looked at Silva, for example, we have some liquid rain where those temperatures are warmer. We've got, of course, from northeastern Georgia up through Cashiers Highlands, out across Transylvania County, Henderson County, a lot of Buncombe County, certainly the upstate and foothills. We are going to see freezing rain and hours of it through the morning into the early afternoon. Now, temperatures will stair-step up, probably above the freezing mark in Asheville even, as we get into the afternoon. The problem is that we have hours of freezing rain and accumulating ice before that transition happens, and the precip will be ending at that time. So it's the hours of freezing rain that's going to put the weight on power lines and trees in certain areas, and that's where we're going to start to see problems. And this is just beginning to accumulate now. Again, here's mid-morning. We go into the early afternoon. We see some heavier bands of precip, which will add up the ice quickly. We start to transition to a liquid rain in parts of the area, but this is moving out. And then we have really cold air to talk about for the next couple of days. So what we're looking at is probably a max total in some isolated locations up to about 3/4 of an inch of ice. Around that, parts of Buncombe County, parts of the I-85 corridor, 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 inch. Now where we'll see the lowest amounts is where we're getting that liquid rain mixing in, just lower amounts there up to 1/4 of an inch of ice. And here's what that looks like. Limited impacts with less than 1/4 of an inch. Gives you a thin ice layer on surfaces, slick sidewalks. You start getting into destruction of power lines and trees in that 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch range. And over a 1/2 inch, you can have widespread longer power outages. So parts of the area are going to get into that 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch range this afternoon. And then it sticks around a little bit. Temperatures stay in the 20s on Monday. We'll see single digits early on Tuesday.